Fear and greed run through the wire. Candles climb and then expire. Our edges cut from the profile, sharp and clean by every buyer. He conquers the markets, he turns water into wine. His timing flows where chaos turns divine. Cut sharp enough to time the sign. Yeah, this man's no common trader. He commands the market's numbers. We call him Chef Bailey. The market bends beneath his flame. Fear and greed run through the wire. Candles climb and then expire. Our edges cut from the profile, sharp and clean by every buyer. Markets move, they twist and swing. Every tick can burn or bring. Ryan keeps calm, he trusts his thing. The charts tell him everything. But when T1 makes ding, 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 the futures spread their hidden wing, and he is ready.
Still trying to trade alone? Time to surround yourself with winners and conquer the markets. Join the 5-star rated trading Discord, where pros, futures traders, and crypto killers sharpen their edge daily. Daily plans, live calls, alerts, and trading tools. Join free today. No credit card, no BS.
Welcome everybody. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a killer weekend. It was super smooth on this end, and we got exactly what we anticipated today. It was a super slow day as we failed to find a lot of areas to buy for support. So everything kind of played out as we anticipated when we talked on Sunday. And so we're going to get into that shortly and talk about the day. And we're also going to talk about, what to anticipate and what to look for. We had some end of the day news, of course. Trump come out of the left field with some more China NVIDIA chip talk. And so, of course, they're, grinding the market higher right now. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and have you guys follow me on social media for both Twitter and Twitter, Substack, YouTube, and now TradingView. It's all Ryan Bailey Edge. Check it out. Follow me on there. I'm actually starting to introduce some indicators on both for everyone and also for Substack subscribers. We'll get into a few of those towards the end, as I released one over the weekend that if you are a Substack subscriber, you cannot afford to not have this. It's an awesome, awesome tool. So Ryan Bailey Edge, check it out. We'll definitely show you how that works here shortly. So anyways, guys, it has not surprising what happened today. It was a really slow week last week with relative, let me rephrase that. We had relative volume really low last week, but we had some decent volatility as we've been marching higher. However, like we talked about in the weekend review, support was extremely thin as we were kind of traversing the highs yesterday, and all signs still point to more up. I do believe that we do have all-time highs in our future. However, we were anticipating a digest period again, as we basically are waiting for FOMC. So as of today or last night, wherever you want to say, we didn't have a whole lot of areas that I was excited to buy. I was like, oh my God, I gotta have this, gotta get on it. It just wasn't there. So we're going to talk about quite a few things today. We're actually going to get into the plan a little bit. But again, it was so slow. I was even looking on Twitter and people were like, if I have to deal with this price action anymore, just throw me off the building. And it certainly was that today. It was hard to stay attention as it was just a very slow day. Usually we're crying because they only go up and don't rotate. Today they went down and barely rotated. So, it's pick your poison, right? Pick your poison. So let's go ahead and get into it right now and just talk about this. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about. So first and foremost, I think one of the most important things that really was on my radar this morning, and it popped up immediately, was the VIX. I've been talking about this fragile $15 handle. Every single time we get in the $15 range on the VIX, we pop. This is something that just happens. I mean, pull out the chart and look. We've talked about this 100 times. What's up, Ricky? Yeah, man, you know what's up. It was a slow day, just painful, man, painful. So here's the VIX, and I pulled this out and showed this to you guys 100 times. I mean, every time we're down here in this $15 handle range, we get pops, right? And these pops are ferocious, right? And so, because volatility is so low, that any type of news or increase in the VIX really just sends the indices down, and they really can't do much about it. And this is something that we tend to see all the time as we get down in this range. We swept this low, and one of the big things that we needed to watch for, and I'll just bring this back over, is we were watching this $15 handle, okay? And really it was the weekly here, this pivot at 1573. And when we woke up this morning, we were already elevated in the $16 handle, which told me right away, like, hey, this is going to be an interesting day, because as much as I want more up, I just can't buy the high. So I'm looking for areas to buy. But then once again, of course, we had our, resistance up here at 1721. It was tested, and it's like, okay, so where do we go from here? We don't have much to buy on the ES, and we don't have much for resistance on VIX. All we know is we're above our significant area, which is going to give us a little push down. And indeed it did. And so the only trade that I had today that I was really wanting, which, unfortunately, I'm going to just go ahead and pull this over here. We had a couple trade setups that did not play out. Okay. And I'll just go ahead and talk about what they were. One was the long at 64. We waited for the pop back above, I believe it was 6808. It never happened. We ended up just caving in. And then also the other buy was 55, and 55 didn't work either. We're looking for, a hold above 57, which did happen. But, we really pulled all the way back in here before we got the push up. And it just wasn't a great trade. The only trade we were actually looking for today, it was in the plan. Actually, I could pull this up, but I don't even know where it's at off the top of my head. We were really looking at this, long down here. I basically said, actually, I think I have it right here. I think we should pull this up just because it'd be important to have this as a context here, so we can understand exactly where my headspace was at, because I kind of warned everybody. I'm like, hey, there's just not a lot to buy up here, right? So, as we come down into the final thoughts down here, doesn't play. There I am. Good looking guy there. This was essentially where I was at. I'm looking to buy the 55.50 area or the 32.75 sweep. That was really what was on my radar all day. Okay. Well, look what they did here. They come down, they push through the 55 like we talked about. We had our 32.75 sweep. They actually sweeped our 36. We wanted them to sweep the 36, and then we would start taking profits around 55. Well, they didn't quite get into our 32.75. And so I just didn't get the trade-off today. But the plan worked out. It just front ran just a little bit. We also had an options vol level. And really, more importantly, one of the things that I wanted to show you guys is you'll see this is the previous weekly value area low range. So check this out. So once again, we are still in balance from last week's value. We just pushed all the way down in here. We traversed all the way from the value area high, damn near to the value area low. And we are balancing right back again, essentially sitting directly at the weekly point of control. So we have once again not accomplished anything. We are just sitting right back in this balance area. I'm going to go ahead and pull the cash session daily chart down here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days worth of session. We pulled back into this big 5-day balance area again. And of course, they've found some support down here. And really a lot of it had to do with the news at the end of the day as they pushed up, which I'll get into. If you don't know what the news is, we're going to talk about that here real soon. But we are basically just right back in the bullshit. And so as you guys know, one of my biggest fears, I guess you could say a fear, because, I'm bullied up and buying, right? One of my biggest fears was the fact that we didn't have any high time frame support to buy. And those of you guys who know me, I focus on daily and 4-hour levels. Why? Because I'm not a scalper. I want the meat. I want 20, 30, 40 points on my trades. If I have to sit there all day and wait for it, I will. And this was the kind of day where we just did not have a setup. I was willing to kind of reach out of my comfort zone and take this 1 hour level as long as it swept, because I like the value area low. And it did sweep. We just didn't get in the sweet spot for me, unfortunately. So it is what it is. There's always tomorrow. I'm also going to show you some NQ love today. That actually, NQ was a little cleaner. I got to give it credit. It was a little cleaner today. So this was the one play in the trade plan that I was actually really liking besides the 55. And it didn't play out. So some days are like that. And actually, this played out. It didn't work out for me. Let me rephrase that. So now what's the deal? Well, the deal is we're still digesting, right? We're still in this massive balance area as we continue to push up. One of the big things I wanted to see happen was I really wanted to see it close above 91 last week, and we didn't get it done, which immediately kind of had my antennas up, because I'm like, man, if they can't close above this major leg down, we might have a little hint of weakness. Now, it doesn't mean we've lost in the daily time frame. It doesn't mean anything. It just gives me little cues or clues what to look for. And this is one thing that kind of had my antennas flared up on Sunday. So this actually worked out just the way we anticipated, which was a little bit of weakness here. Now, the issue is how do we get on this trade, right? So we've moved up significantly, right? So you guys know we pushed up 350 points in a week, right? Just massive. And then we digested sideways, okay? And, now we're continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. So this was the first time that we've actually swept this low under here right now. You can see my little indicator went off and they're starting to squeeze. Well, I'd like to say that it's because of my level, but again, I'm not so certain that that's the case. Let me show you guys actually what happened here today. Right towards the close, a guy in my room put this out. President Trump has called China's President Xi and approved the sale of the NVIDIA chips. Remember that we weren't allowed to sell them to them not too long ago, just a month or two ago. Now, all of a sudden, they can buy them, but the U.S. government gets 25% of the revenue. Same thing for AMD, Intel, and all the rest. So has kind of opened the doors for the sale of NVIDIA chips, which, of course, immediately pumped the market at the drop of this news, which was the last half hour of the market session, which, as you can see, was timed perfectly with this pump looking at the 1 hour chart, right? So start to get a little move here in the last hour of the session. We're already in, basically 5 p.m. was the close here. So, this whole last little bit of ramp, Ola, was Trump bringing the goods to the table. So, the thing is now is I still believe we're headed up, right? But where do we get on this? Well, that's a great question. And I really need to wait and see what happens as far as where we open tomorrow, because I still don't have a great place to get on this. I really don't. I really need them to make some better support for us, and we'll see what happens in the morning. This was kind of my play here to grab this. And if you guys recall, I talked about, these sweep plays were going to be super important today, as getting below something and grabbing some liquidity and going. And you can see how significant this was today. We had a big put wall down here, big value area low from last week. I really wanted to get in this pocket, and they just couldn't do it for me. It's tragic. So long story short, if we come down here, I only have one more small little time frame of 1 hour time frame, 6808. Down here, we'd want to get back above 13, get back above 22, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if we're going to get down there. I mean, the way this thing is squeezing right now at after hours, we will probably gap up a little bit when the market opens. So we'll see how all that plays out. But, it doesn't surprise me what's cooking. So I do want to actually do something a little different here. We're actually going to go to NQ today, because I was actually trading NQ today. I was looking for anything in process so that we could get a nice little trade. And NQ actually made a lot of sense today. So let's just go ahead and tab over. I'll let you check that out. So NQ, this was my first long in the room, which I actually did take today because I was looking for, like I told you, drum roll please, 4 hour and 1 hour levels, right? Okay, well, 64.14 was my first untested 1 hour or 4 hour level. lined up with the weekly point of control, which I absolutely loved. And as you can see, they poked in here and played the weekly point of control perfect. I'm going to go ahead and just pull this 30-minute over so you can get some love here and see what's cooking. So we came in, we played this perfectly, and we got a pop all the way to VWAP. I actually took this all the way up. Unfortunately, didn't have much size on, but whatever. I'm green on the day, like almost $400, big deal. Okay. So, but what they actually did was, which is pretty interesting, they came down here, they swept this low, they held the monthly VWAP, held the previous weekly point of control, and now we're starting to push up. Okay. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is look at the difference here as far as the strength is concerned on the NQ versus the ES. When I compare the two, NQ looks substantially stronger right now. We never close below our 4-hour legs. We're continuing to push higher. And our first area of resistance is this 25,730 area. So we're really going to watch this spot for above or below. The next big spot is 25,810. But again, I'm not overly concerned about this 810, specifically because we never lost on the 4-hour time frame. When I say lost, I mean lost support. We're still continuing to verse up, and this was just a nice sweep and liquidity grab. Certainly, in my opinion, it was a lot prettier than ES today. Let me just go back so you can see the difference here. I mean, this was nice and all, but we just never got in there, right? So like checking out NQ, you can see we kind of cleaned this whole thing up, and we're starting to push up. And like check this out too. So look at the 4-hour on NQ. See how we held, did a little sweep. We're starting to push up. Look at ES actually, kind of interesting. Just the difference here. ES actually came down, closed below our 4-hour legs to the high, which to me immediately is another sign of weakness. Of course, once we had to close, we already made new lows, which means they did their job. They satisfied all that, but just a major difference in how this looks. And so again, moving forward, I still think we're going higher, right? My issue is I don't have anything to get on. All the easy money was made already, in my opinion. Now we're probably going to have another day tomorrow of just chopping around. So I really need some support to be made in the overnight session in order for us to be able to get on this the appropriate way. Let me find out where my screens are at. Hang on, I lost everything. Give me 1 second here. Where am I? There we go. Yep. Okay, sorry about that. I tried to find all my screens. I got shit all over the place. So looking at NQ one more time. So let's just get this out of the way. Get this up here. Come back to NQ. So check out NQ's weekly profile, right? So I don't even believe this is, yeah, here we go. So this is actually NQ's weekly profile last week, much larger than ES. And as you can see, it also opened at the previous week value higher, came right down and kind of settled in the weekly point of control. So again, we're just right smack in value. I mean, we really accomplished nothing today, essentially, but just kind of pulling back and, I guess people took a little profits. But again, looking at this chart right now, I don't have anything amazing to buy. So that is my only issue with this, guys. There's really just not a whole lot of places here where I'm like, I cannot wait to buy this. So we will see what happens tomorrow. Right now, we need some support to form over the next day or two, but I do definitely think that we can continue to move higher. I want to go ahead and take a look at SPX and kind of give you the difference in contrast here so that we can get a good picture of what we need to look for as far as the indices are concerned. When I say the indices, I don't necessarily mean, ES. For those of you guys who understand how this works, the SPX and obviously INDX, these are the true blues, right? This is all futures is a derivative. So let's go ahead and just take a look at SPX and have a little thought process about this. So, without a lot of action today, we're just talking about things that we need to see happen. So here you go. So once again, we had a solid close over this weekly. We talked about all this. I did a weekly wrap up or weekend review for both SPX and ES. I talked about this in both. This close over this weekly, not only last 2 weeks ago, but again last week, still cements my bullish belief that we can continue to move higher. On the daily time frame, actually, we have SPX closing above the leg down, which was another huge feat on Friday. So again, all this back and forth to me is fine. But as you can see, again, just looking at the daily time frame, I don't have a whole lot to buy, right? Unless we come down here and sweep 67.96, I don't have another daily that's untested in this general vicinity. And actually, I'd have to come much lower to grab something that was still like out of this range and extremely untested. So you guys know how I feel about, my edges and the edges. And right now we are just sitting right in balance. And so it's very difficult for me to make what I would say an educated, or let me rephrase that, to make a high probability trade and really call something out that could work, super well right now. So it's unfortunate, but that is just the nature of the beast that we're dealing with right this very second. So that's what we got. And we're just going to have to wait and see how tomorrow pans out. As you can see on the ETH daily, we are still continuing to move higher. This was our first red day in quite some time, guys. I mean, yes, we had one technically on, I guess that was Wednesday, but, we continue to move up in the overnight session. So we'll see what this news does for NVIDIA and kind of go from there. So that's what I got for ES. That's what I got for NQ. And actually, let me show you something on NQ. We were talking about this in the room today, just to kind of fill some space and time here. So check this out. NQ did the same thing, right? It failed to gain this daily here for this move down, which again, we've already gained the leg to the low, which was fine. We've tested it. We've pushed up. This is our big daily up here to gain, which is the 25,788. We have some resistance now at 733 as we approach it from the bottom side, but I don't have another daily to buy until 25,255. I mean, that's 500 points away from here. So as I pull up the 4 hour, I'm like, okay, let me get a little bit more granular, right? So my next spot to buy on the 4 hour, literally 25,373. I mean, we're talking 300 points away from where we're at. So I mean, I'm not going to say we can't come down there. You guys know we could do that in an afternoon pretty quickly. But right now, this is looking fairly strong. So we're going to have to see where we open. And I just wanted to show you guys like really what I'm looking at here for support. I mean, if this area kind of gives it up and we start to push below the 614, this is truly my next spot to buy for NQ, which is pretty far down there. So it's going to be an interesting week. It's going to be an interesting week going into FOMC because, right now, if we just sit here and balance around sideways, we are essentially, wiping all these levels. Now, again, they're just building value to go higher. We can see that in the profile. So that's not our ultimate concern. It's just, I want to get on it. Everybody wants to get on it. From a process perspective, it's hard to get on this, right? So, let's want to make some money. I don't want to sit here all week and do nothing. So that's the idea. And we just got to figure out when that's going to happen. So stick with me on the trade plans. Stick with me in the Discord room. I am looking at both of these assets ferociously as we try to find the next entry so that we can ride this joint up for the next 100, 200 points. So that's what I got for NQES. Talked a little bit of SPX. And now let's talk about this Indie. I want to share this Indie with you guys. If you are a Substack subscriber, you absolutely want this. I have talked about this 80% rule multiple times, guys. Right? So the 80% rule is when you open outside of the previous day's value and you push into the previous day's value and for 2 or more periods, and you accept, and then you will have an 80% chance of making it to the opposite side of the value area, high or low, wherever it's at. So if you are a Substack subscriber, shoot me a DM from Substack. I will show you exactly what you're going to be looking for here. This is the script that I created. I'm super proud of this. It took me a long time. I actually did a whole post on this. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's pretty sweet. I actually have a TPO that's built and running in the background because right now, TradingView actually has TPO charts, but you can't have an indicator reference these charts because it's on a different chart. So for everything for TradingView, it has to be whatever you're looking at has to be built like within the individual chart you're looking at. So this chart actually has a TPO building in the background, and you're going to start seeing the value area high and value area low. And yesterday's point of control for any asset. So if you want this whole setup works for NQ, ES, CL, anything, stocks, SPX, the whole 9 yards. I have the whole rules explained in here. Of course, I did a post regarding this explanation as well. And then if you come down in here, I have all the different settings in here. So if you're trading a different asset, let me get to it right here. Crude, gold, treasuries, E-mini, YM, Russell, RTY. I have all the settings in here, everything you need to look for. You should definitely check this out. I'm going to go ahead and just run this for you real fast so that we can check it out, and I'll show you what's up. It's pretty freaking slick. Let me go ahead. See, now look at this. Check this out. So this is yesterday. This is Friday's value area high, value area low, and point of control for Friday. And just to show you, I mean, it took me a long time to get this right. So look, check this out. This is pretty cool. And because I use Sierra charts, for me, I want everything to match, right? So I worked very diligently to get this so that whatever I'm looking at, you guys are also looking at, because I don't want to give you something that's kind of like half-assed, right? So check this out. Let me pull this over. There we go. So we've got, this is our profile from Friday. As you can see, our value area high is 90, value area low is 74, point of control is 84, right? 74.25, 90.25, 83.25. She lines up perfect. So now you no longer have to, here's the biggest problem, right? People are always like, oh, I use TradingView, I don't have TPO charts, or oh, I don't pay for the premium, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The issue is, a lot of people have the issue is that they don't have enough screen real estate. Right. So it's like, it's one thing to have your execution chart up and the 1 hour, 4 hour, a daily, whatever, but then to have another screen up just so that you can monitor TPO, monitor this trade, etc. It becomes, real estate intensive. So I have this working in the background. The beautiful part is this is now going to be on your charts all the time. You can hide it if you want. You can hide the labels. The nice part about it is we have a dashboard up here, but this was never available on TradingView before. So highly recommend checking this out. I'm going to show you exactly how this trade is going to work here. It's pretty cool. I actually showed it in the example that I had. I'm going to run this. So you're going to see we're going to start outside the value area high for the day. It's going to need to accept 2 or more periods inside here, which will trigger the confirmation. And then we have an 80% probability of making it to the value area low. That is how the trade works. Now, just because the trade fires and says, hey, we're triggered, that doesn't mean you automatically just want to hit the sell or the buy button, right? You need to look for an entry. The best potential entry, obviously, is a retest of the value area high or something within our process, okay? So you can see right now the rule was confirmed. We had 2 blocks in here. We are currently looking for bearish. Almost hit our value area low. It almost got there. And I know this is on replay and 10-minute candles, but the idea is so that you can see this without having to sit here all day. So they actually give us a beautiful retest of the value area high up here, and then they hit our target down below. So, I mean, you're going to see this thing is going to finish. It's going to tell you target achieved. And again, I have back tested this strategy. I have been trading this strategy for probably 5 or 7 years. This is a legit strategy. The only issue is it's hard to pinpoint, because you have to constantly be watching the TPO. And so I would miss it a lot of times. I just flat out wouldn't see it. Even though I got the TPO up all the time, I just miss it, right? And so this is one of those things. I built it for Sierra charts. I liked it so much. Here we go. Boom, target achieved, target hit, right? So that's how it works. So I liked it so much that, and I talk about this trade so often, that I wanted to make sure that you guys had access to this tool. And so if you are a Substack subscriber, just hit me up. I'll, DM me from Substack. I will turn it on for you. This is a must-have, and it works across all assets, and especially even SPX traders. This is, this is a ES thing or S&P 500 thing. It's actually a market profile thing, but because I'm an ES guy, it works for that. I know it works for NQ, and it obviously works for the other assets as well. So I thought this was something super sexy. I'm a huge fan of this, Indy. I'm a huge fan of actually this trade. I mean, anything with an 80% probability is something that we all should be trading, right? So I hope that you guys enjoyed our review today. Unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about as far as trade plan wise. It was a very slow and painful day, but we already expected that as we had massive low relative volume last week. Coming into FOMC, the market is just anticipating a 1/4 point drop. Really, what's going to be important is what does Powell say and how does he say it? So as long as he doesn't say anything crazy, we will more than likely continue our event. Just how are we going to get there? That is the question that remains to be unseen. What we do know right now is Trump is pumping this market with some news. And so tomorrow will be interesting to see where we open and to see exactly what setups they've left for us. So hit me up for the indicator. If you have not signed up for the Substack, check the link in the post. You can get 30 days free. All you got to do is fill out the landing page. I will hook you up, and then you can get the trade plans for the next 30 days, make some money, do your thing, and then hopefully you subscribe once you realize the insane amount of value that I provide every day. So looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. And for all the Substack subscribers, I will see you in the morning, 8:30 for the trade plan. Cheers, and have a fantastic evening.